Hello, I'm Tony Trongone, Superintendent of Pemberton Township Schools. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Inside Outlook. Today I'd like to share some of the exciting projects our Facilities Department has planned for us for next year and also clear up some misconceptions about how these projects are funded. I'm joined by our Director of Facilities, Dean Adams, who's going to walk us through some of the upcoming renovations. Welcome, Dean.
Thank you. Good morning.
I'll start off with regarding funding the projects. I guess I walk in the hallways or I have meetings with certain people and they say, wow, we're getting our funds cut from the state over $20 million, $26 million at one time. We're down to $20 million. And why are we getting a new fence? Why are we getting a new sign? Why are we getting the parking lot seal coated? And I want to go and explain about that first, Dean, about the money part.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go and pick your brain about all these projects we have slated.
Sure.
So maintenance reserve. Maintenance reserve is like a savings account. It's not a checking account. I think a checking account is more like our day-to-day general budget, but our maintenance reserve is like a savings account that we're able to put money away, but then when we need it, we can take it out and use it for one-time costs. And so right now, that little savings account has a little over $6.3 million in it. And if you could see what I pulled up from New Jersey Code, what we can use maintenance reserve for, and it's prohibited from using funds for routine or capital maintenance. But we do it for one-time maintenance costs. So I'm now going to go to Dean about our maintenance reserve account and what you did. So this time last year, we were making a list of things to do.
Correct.
And so we had seal coat parking lots. We finally put the air conditioning in the third floor here at the high school. Mm-hmm. We had to put a fence around the playground at Bozansky, mm-hmm. and then we had flooring in the cafeteria, much needed flooring in the cafeteria at Helen Fort Middle School, and also in the offices. The year before that, we had to put money towards boilers, and I'm wondering what else is there that you've done from the spring of last year to date using the maintenance reserve and even capital reserve.
A lot of the parking lots were in pretty bad shape. Mm-hmm. So they needed some asphalt work as well as seal coating and crack filling. Mm-hmm. You know, that prevents the parking lots from deteriorating more.
Okay.
You know, it's a preventative type of repair. So
okay.
They were all in need of some redoing.
Okay. What are you looking for next year just for maintenance reserve? You're creating a list now for over the summer, right?
Correct. We have the remaining schools that did not get seal coated and crack filled, we want to do those. Mm-hmm. We have some parking lot areas that have some asphalt that needs to be repaired. Mm-hmm. We have some curbing, some sidewalks that need to be repaired, some flooring at the high school that needs to be repaired, some carpeted areas that cause some mold issues in the summertime. We want to get rid of that and put VCT tile down.
We're also looking at our resiliency as far as because we have a lot of power outages here. Mm-hmm. And so our goal is, our central question is, how do we maintain a school day for our students, a complete school day? So we're making a list of not just to have auxiliary power, but the bathrooms to work, the computers in the main office to work. So you're also looking at generators, right?
Correct. We're working with the Helen Fort Middle School and High School this year to get some areas that aren't wired to a generator to get that wired. So this way here we can run a school day. So we have computers, we can have phones, we can have bathrooms, lighting. Mm-hmm.
Well, by law, we have to have we're up to code, though, right?
Correct.
This is more.
This is to function. Correct.
Okay, this is more to to work that way. And then, so what's on your list for a generator for next year?
We have Emmons that only has a 10 kW generator, so that just does minimal enough to get you out of the building in case there's an emergency. There's no boilers, there's no heat. So if the power were to go down in the wintertime, we could lose a building with pipes freezing.
But you have we put a little portable one there, right? The whole
correct.
time?
We have a generator. We have a temporary generator right now that we could tie into. But we're looking for a long-term one there, and then we have one for the bus garage as well.
Okay, good.
Which has nothing right now.
Okay, and so that list is really formative right now because we have to meet with the board to talk about what we'd like to do to pull out of that savings account to get that work done.
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you. And another part that you were involved with was the security grant. And so Mr. Bowen applied for a grant with the Burlington County Freeholders. It was for a total of $1.2 million. The funds are directed only to high schools, so we couldn't spend anything for any other school but the high school. We had our beautiful security vestibule installed. And signing, you have really good signage now out there. It looks really good. Also, not just lighted signing, parking lot signing, interior doors are now all labeled, right?
Correct. Locations of classrooms. Yep.
Okay, good. And then the door locks, the interior and exterior door locks has been a huge lift for you, huh?
It was an ongoing project. It's something that we would normally do over the summertime, but since it was part of the security grant, it was no cost to us. We had to do it within the time frame.
You were pressed with a deadline, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, good. And then cameras and lighting. So at night here, it's lit up pretty well.
Correct.
But yet we're saving money, right?
Yes, we took all the outside lights. We added LED lighting, so it's a lot less energy that uses it. So it's a huge savings on our electric bill. Plus, it makes the area a lot brighter than what it was,
And safer.
and safer,
Yeah.
much safer.
And cameras, I can't tell you how the cameras are crystal clear now. So we added cameras, but we also replaced all the cameras. Then the PA system and the strobes was a heavy lift too, because of the building is 1975, so it's getting up there in age as far as electronics to get all the PA system all rerouted, and then also strobes in case there was God forbid an emergency, we have strobes put in, a panic alarm. And then the fencing, that was a big thing. I said people talk to me about how come we're getting new fencing and we're getting money cut. That was also part of the grant, right?
Correct. That was part of the security grant to put fencing and bollards up to keep visitors and cars from actually impacting the building.
And then what about, there's two different colors, so there's black on the one side and green on the other. What are we doing about that in the summertime?
We're going to paint the original fence that was installed in the main parking lot black. The reason why we went with black is because it was a standard color. Green is a special order, and then time restraints, it would take us much longer to get that green color if we wanted the green color.
So we got a lot done with that security grant, that's for sure. We spent almost every penny of it, too.
Every penny we did.
Good. Next upcoming projects, so we have the wastewater treatment plant at Helen Fort Middle School, the parking lot at Bazansky Emmons, air conditioning at the high school and Gym A only, new floor at the high school Gym A and wrestling room, tennis courts. With the new school and all the realignment, you're responsible for moving Harker Wiley items to Stackhouse, the Stackhouse items to new Dembo Crichton School. You have to move Haynes to Dembo Crichton School, and then you have to move Dembo items to the Dembo Crichton School. So you have quite the heavy, I'm saying again, quite a heavy lift.
It's going to be a very busy summer.
It's going to be very busy summer. So now I'm going to talk about the wastewater treatment plant, and I have a picture here of where it's located behind the football field at Helen Fort Middle School. It's 60 years old. It's going through the permit process, which has been laborious. We can either go right now, whether a new plant or a pipeline into city sewer, but it's all predicated upon the Pinelands, Pemberton Township Municipality, and the Department of Environmental Protection.
Correct.
And then we're looking to have that, some direction on that by
April.
April? Okay. And so how is that taken care of now? We are in the sewer business?
Yes, we are. Newcomb and Helen Fort Middle School, we have a plant for both those schools. So we actually monitor it. We pay a licensed operator to run that plant. We pay a lot of fees and testing because it has to be tested every day, like a normal sewer plant would be.
So what's wrong with the plant?
Just age. We have two plants there now, two tanks on the plant. So if we had a issue with one plant, we could go to the other plant and work on that one plant. But the second plant actually is non-usable because it's decayed. So we're working on one plant. So if that one plant should happen to go down, then we could be in very much trouble.
Okay.
So
So we really want to push to get this some type of finality.
we need to have
this.
something done.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next up is the Bazansky Emmons parking lot. So there's an issue with parking at both schools. At Emmons, it's the parking in front where the corral fence is. People back up into
Pull
the
in,
road,
drop off kids, and then back up into the road.
into Scrapetown Road. And then at Bazansky, we have an issue with drop off and pickup in regard to commingling of buses with parents dropping their kids off.
Correct. There's one loop that they intermingle with, which is
Gotcha.
not safe.
So work will begin when?
March 1st. They actually have it staked out now. The next step is to put a temporary fence in, and then they're going to start doing all their surveying, getting the land leveled and working.
Okay, when will that be completed?
That should be August 28th.
August 28th of this summer? Good. But I think our parents and even Scrapetown Road traffic, it gets backed up because of the way people have to get out of those particular buildings. So we're looking forward to getting that done. That's a long time coming too, getting that done. And the HVAC in the high school, that's actually starting soon. It's going to have a new heating system
Heating and air conditioning both.
and air conditioning, and then work will begin
April.
in April. Okay, and then when's that going to be done?
That should be done by June 1st.
So we'll be pushing because it's always that when if it rains during graduation, right? So
We have a place to go that'll be conditioned.
okay, good to know. And again, that's part of your projects going forward from now until the summer. And then the new floor at the high school, Gym A, and also the wrestling room. So there was a second coat put on that particular floor back in 2005. But under that coat is the original floor from 1991, and you had it tested.
Correct. It was tested for mercury.
Okay, and what were the results?
The results were there was mercury in the flooring, but it's well below the state standards that allow to have mercury in the air.
And so I know some school districts are continuing to use their gyms without any work done, but we're looking to replace that one. What about Gym B?
Gym B it tested negative for mercury.
Okay.
You had both of those floors
Now
tested.
Gym B is the older one. That was so I guess in 1975.
Must have used normal installation, I would assume.
Okay, good. So when will work begin on that, on the gym floor and the wrestling room?
That should start right after graduation,
Okay, good. And that'll be completed by?
September 1st.
Okay. And then there's one more big project you got going on is the tennis courts, which were built on top of a storm sewer.
Correct.
And so here's a map of the high school, and then if you're familiar with the back of the high school, there's a little stream that runs back there, and it actually goes under the tennis courts. There's pipes that run, big 2 foot in diameter pipes that run under, and I guess they gave way, right?
Yes.
And then the ground under the tennis courts just eroded away.
Correct.
And then the next part of that is we were fixing it every year. So this has been a problem for many years. I heard at least 10 years. We've been spending between $10,000 to $25,000 a year on repairing them. And here's a picture, just one picture of it. And then tell me about what happened, because it looked like you were newer. You come in, you say, okay, we'll get it fixed, and you send somebody out, and they say,
Yeah, we looked at it in asphalt when it has some bridging underneath. So it could be solid on top, but there could be erosion underneath, and that's what we have at the tennis courts. So we had one little patch that actually was eroded that we could see through. So we looked at it, and we found out that there was no, gravel or anything underneath of that support. So we had an engineer come out and take a look at it and tested it, and deemed the courts unsafe, playable.
Okay.
So we moved all the sports away for last fall, and then we went out to bid to replace the tennis courts.
So work begins on that.
June 28th. Well, we go out to bid on March 10th. We go out to bid. So once we get that bid specifications, we'll start work.
And that'll be completed.
September 1st.
And that's just not new tennis courts, new fencing?
That's new tennis courts, new fencing. It's rewiring the drainage to it now underneath the courts, on the outside of the courts,
That'll be good.
tying it into the storm sewer that goes out to the front of the high school.
Okay, good. Okay. And now I'm going to change up because I think you have all these projects, but then also you're moving people. I mentioned you're moving people from Harker Valley to Stackhouse. You're moving, their belongings, so to speak, and then from Stackhouse, the folks there and the folks that work in Stackhouse will move to the new Dembo Crichton building, right? And then you have Haynes. And you have Dembo that are moving into there. So the school comes fully equipped?
School's fully furnished.
So there's no file cabinets or furniture, right?
No, it's just the belongings that are in the classrooms. Books, materials, teaching materials.
Okay,
whatever
that's
they
for
have.
Dembo Crichton.
That's for Dembo Crichton.
But Harker Wiley, the Stackhouse, will be a little different for you.
Yes, we have to
it's
move the furniture because of the age group.
I got you, good. So you're going to be really busy.
Plus we have to move the playground.
Oh, right,
we have
that's
to
a
move the
big thing with the
playground from
parents. The
Hargo, right.
playground has to be more age appropriate. We're going to do that. But then you also have the high school with all this work being done, if all goes well with the maintenance reserve, you're going to pave the front too, right?
Yeah, there's some concrete work on the front sidewalk that's eroded that needs to be repaired.
Who's going to do that work?
That's part of actually the bid.
So it's an outside contractor.
It's
that'll
outside
do that?
contractor, yep. And then they're going to pave the whole area from the front of the main entrance all the way around to the back by the auto shop.
Okay.
That's going to be milled and paved. And then the front section will be crack filled and seal coated.
So then the summer looks like there will be nobody here at the high school.
No, the high school will have to be closed.
Okay, for at least the month of July, correct?
At least.
Okay, that's good to know. So again, I'll use it the third time. It's going to be a heavy lift.
Very heavy.
Okay, and I'll go back now to some things you've been doing. So that's part of your job looking forward. But then you've also been looking back. So one of those issues is our due diligence or lack thereof into making sure when we have somebody do the work, it's done correctly. And so there were exhaust fans at Helen Fort. There are like 31. There's a bunch of them, right? So we had mold at the Helen Fort Middle School, and we thought because we had the new exhaust fans installed that they were actually hooked up electrically, but they weren't.
They weren't hooked up at all.
Right, exactly. And so we had to send the original contractor out who was paid. Well, they still had some money left over, but they still weren't. They had been paid at least more than partially for the job, and it wasn't actually hooked up like wires hooked up to a fan.
Correct.
And so when the folks came in to see why there was mold in a particular area, they said, "Well, your exhaust fans don't work." And so I want to thank you for again your follow through on making sure that you turn on a switch, the fan's working, and that's one area that I think that. Again, we have to do our part on our part to make sure people are doing what we're paying them to do.
Correct.
And you make them responsible. And then one more is at Emmons. We had a roof put on 5 years ago, and we spent $4 million on the inside. The place gets done, and all of a sudden they're saying, "Mr. Trongone, it's leaking. The roof's leaking." I was like, "How could that be? We had all this work done." And could you tell us what happened there?
Sure, we would get a couple work orders that the roof was leaking, and after investigation, we would come up and we found out there was a lot of buckling on the roof itself, a lot of lifting where the water was coming in.
Right.
So we called the contractor back, and then, after a couple battles between the contractor and insurance company, they agreed to make the repairs. It was a contractor's fault. It wasn't nothing that we did.
Okay, good. But that wasn't as simple as you just said, because I was in those emails.
Yeah, it took about 8 months to get them to come back out and admit that they were wrong.
And do we have to pay anything?
No, we didn't pay any dime.
Okay, good.
No, they tried to bill us originally, and then once the investigation, they did their testing. They come out and did some cutting and some samples and found out that it was a improper installation.
Okay, good to know. So that's just two examples. I think we have a few more about what's going on, even with heating and air conditioning, all the different facets of facilities in the school district. But I want to take the time to thank you for again. I call it due diligence. Just because we bring somebody in to do it, and then we hire professionals to oversee it. Then people internally have to look and see, okay, did it get done? Get it done properly. So I want to thank you.
You're welcome.
So as you can see, these updates will greatly benefit our students, staff, and parents, and demonstrate our commitment to providing a safe, comfortable environment for all of our stakeholders. That's our show for today. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in to our next episode of Inside Outlook.